Welcome to Living Clean, Living Well, everyone. Tonight on the show, my two guests are going to ask you a question. Are you sabotaging your life? In the area of addictions and substance abuse, are you sabotaging your recovery? We may not think that we are, but maybe there are some things that you're doing in your life that maybe aren't heading you down that right road of recovery where you want to go. And in general, in your life, are you sabotaging your marriage? Are you sabotaging your work life? Are you sabotaging your health, your weight, your happiness? We are going to answer those questions tonight, or at least my wonderful guests are. Would you please welcome back to Living Clean, Living Well, Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova. So glad to see you ladies again.
Great to see you again,
Thank
Theresa.
you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, so last March is when these two wonderful ladies came on, and we had so many phone calls to the show that night. It was great to see. They have a wonderful message. They have all of these companies that we're going to be talking about, and they have a best-selling book. So ladies, since we talked in March, you guys have been very busy and doing a number of things. What's been the biggest thing you've done so far? Joanna?
Well, we finished the book.
Yeah, you were talking about it.
Yeah, we were talking about it. We were definitely had a little bit of a gun to our head, and we got it done. So we were really excited about it. We were really thrilled.
Yeah. Tanya, it must have been so wonderful when you had that baby in your hands. You know, you've got the book. It's here, right?
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's just getting your thoughts into paper and getting it organized enough to take people on a journey of self-discovery. And what we love most about this book is that it's a workbook. So people reading it really fill out the story of their lives, and they truly uncover themselves chapter after chapter. It's amazing.
So, as I mentioned, this book is a bestseller, and tonight we're here to talk about it. And they're here to share their knowledge and their wisdom with us about what it is that they do, what it is that they talk about in the area of self-sabotage. So it's great that we're able to work through this on a show like this, one that, you know, deals with addictions and substance abuse. But when you take a look at overall life, there's so many different applications that it can be used for. So if by chance, maybe tonight you're with the channel changer and you've come to our show and you're wondering what it's all about, there is a lot here for you, even if it's not a question about addictions and substance abuse. So why don't you ladies just tell us right off the top what it is that you are talking about in UnderMind and the overall message.
Okay. So, I mean, just like the title says, so UnderMind, discover the 7 subconscious beliefs that sabotage your life and how to overcome them. So first of all, the title UnderMind is a double meaning because it talks about our undermind, which is our subconscious mind, and how the subconscious mind has these negative programs that undermine us in different areas of our life. And we really get into understanding how your negative inner chatter truly is the indicator of how you're sabotaging yourself. I mean, if you're really hearing in your mind that negative inner chatter, you know you're being sabotaged. And so we help people understand that of the hundreds and even sometimes thousands of inner conversations that you have, they really are rooted in about 7 specific subconscious beliefs that are created out of the different defining or traumatic moments in our life. And then they create parts of us that have beliefs and then perceptions and then that create patterns, and then those patterns become our lives.
Joanna, tell me how it can be worked into what we talk about a lot here on Living Clean, Living Well, which is addictions and substance abuse. How could what you've got here in the book be applied to that?
Well, we even talk about addiction in the book because we know that is one major area of self-sabotage, where people have so many goals that they put in place. They have a vision for what they want, whether it's, as you talked about, losing weight or having a better relationship or doing better in work, starting a new business, and then all of a sudden they sabotage. But with addiction as well, it's that goal, I don't want to drink anymore, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to go back to that, I'm not going to go back to the drugs, I'm not going to do any of those things, and next thing you know, they've got this craving that's just beating them up, or this voice in the head that says, why bother, just do it. And that's one of the big things that we see. Humans all seem to have that voice every once in a while that just becomes defeating, like why bother, just do it. And then we go right down that slope, and then we're in that situation.
When you talk about that, going down that slope and you're in that pit,
yes,
how do you get out of it? How do you lift yourself out of when the negative chatter has beaten you down so far to where you've lost your confidence in your ability to really do anything?
Well, for us, we really feel that an important thing is for us to identify, first of all, that we have, when we've gone down that slope and we're at rock bottom, sometimes it is better to actually realize, okay, something is crashing at this point. And we know in addiction that is where a lot of people get help, when they're really down in the dumps, you know, and the way they finally do it. And for us is to realize that there is like this duality in your mind. There is a voice in your head of reason that's saying to you, I want something better. I want my life to be better, and I want this to be healed, or I want better results. And then this other sabotaging part of myself that keeps destroying it. Just even, first of all, to identify that alone is really important, that there's the two parts of you. So who's the real you? The adult you that wants a better life. You can have this, but then identifying this inner chatter is the separate part. And it's like, where is that hurt coming from? Where is that pain? Where is that voice coming from? And so to be able to listen to that, and this is what we encourage people to do in the book, is to really look at the ugly, ugly truth sometimes that's going on in our head. To see it, maybe write it down. And as Tanya mentioned, it's a workbook. So it really gets us to look at that, and that starts us on that track of healing it at that level.
And Theresa, what we want, what we explain to people is that sabotage is not an act, it's an actual system, it's a process of unraveling. And we show specifically the blueprint of self-sabotage and the 7 different steps that happen, along the way. And so what really happens is that there is a defining moment in our lives, and particularly in our childhood, where we actually make a decision in that moment about ourselves, about others, and the world, about life itself. And in that moment, that's when we have the duality. There becomes a part of us that then has to forever protect us from whatever has actually hurt us in the first place. So, for example, if someone that we love very deeply hurt us, then we can't trust love. And so forever what we do is we actually distance ourselves from love. And so as we get older and we want to have love relationships, unfortunately that part of us has beliefs around love that are multidimensional. You can't trust a person, they're going to hurt you, they're going to leave you. And this is very much below our awareness. It's in an unconscious place. And so as we actually start our relationships and things go well, that's when that part of us kicks in and gets triggered and starts creating problems. And for addictions, what ends up happening is that people actually get help and they're fine, and then we operate all within a comfort zone. And so what happens is that as long as we're in a comfort zone of success, where I know I can do this, it's okay. But then as soon as we get too successful, then that part of us is like, no, you can't succeed. And that's when the addiction and the craving kicks in and we start going down again, because often people find that, they're fine, and just when things are going amazing, that's when they get back into self-sabotage, and they're so exhausted by this process because it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's because there isn't a reprogramming of the mind that releases us from the chains of actual limitation so that we can move forward without being triggered back into an old program.
So what do we do?
Well, and with what Tanya was saying as well, that there's sometimes it's also that the comfort zone is everything that is in that painful place. You've made a pattern in your whole life to just think, this is it. I'm so used to the pain, so used to this problem, that when all of a sudden it's going good, it doesn't feel comfortable. All of a sudden you have to pull yourself back. It's like why the sabotage happens, because it's like, hang on, I could get successful here. I could have good things happen. Oh, then all of a sudden it feels very uncomfortable. So that's why, again, this self-sabotage gets triggered.
Yeah. And what we do, there's a variety of different things. There's actually what's called conscious work, or using your UnderMind, right? So if it's the UnderMind that pulls you under, it's your UnderMind, or your conscious adult mind, which only actually develops fully when you're 25, that you can use as like a muscle to actually consciously move yourself out of it. Affirmations, exercises, visions, plans. But the reality is, if people have really sabotaging beliefs that pull them under, we do have a new therapy called progressive neural resolution therapy. And Joanna founded this therapy almost 10 years ago now. It's called PNRT. And it's something that now we've got a school to certify psychotherapists in. So this is a new type of therapy. And within about an hour to an hour and a half, a person can actually target a specific belief system system and reprogram their mind so it's gone permanently. And that is when the true freedom really happens.
Wow. So we've got pnrt.ca if you'd like to learn some more information there. We've got the book, UnderMind.
That's right.
They also have Courageous Living, which is an empowerment group for women. There's so much more that we are going to learn here tonight. My two guests, Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova from UnderMind, best-selling book, and also all those other companies that we just spoke about. We're going to take our first break here on Living Clean, Living Well, but when we come back, I'm going to open up our toll-free lines. Anybody can call in tonight if you have a question, and you know, you can really get into the minds of these ladies. They are here for you tonight. They charge lots of money for their services, and they are here out of the goodness of their hearts. They're also tremendous friends of the Canadian Centre for Abuse Awareness, which is our presenting sponsor here, and I have to thank you so much because that charity is near and dear to my heart as well. So we've got lots to talk about and lots to learn, and also I'd like you to be a part of it. So folks, toll-free lines will be open up right after this short break on Living Clean, Living Well. Self-sabotaging behavior. That's what we're talking about here tonight on Living Clean, Living Well. I'm your host, Theresa Kruze. So glad to be back with you again live on this Sunday night. My two wonderful guests, Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova, who are here tonight to talk to us about their best-selling book called UnderMind and how the role of self-sabotage seems to filter into our lives. Our toll-free lines are now open, so if you have a question, as I mentioned, these ladies are in high demand, but they are here for you tonight. If you have some questions about maybe self-sabotage has played a role in your life, in your recovery, if you have some questions, maybe you're not sure if it has, maybe you're feeling you're down at the, you know, that as we were talking about going down that slope and in the bottom of the pit, and you're looking for answers for the way out. Tonight, Joanna and Tanya are here and they'll be able to answer your questions. So folks, go ahead, pick up that phone. They're now open. But in the meantime, we are also going to talk and learn, as I mentioned. Let's go back to the role of self-sabotage. You know, sometimes we don't even know it's happening.
Absolutely. 90% of the time we don't.
90%?
I would probably say that because, you know, no, honestly, you know, I'll tell you that's not a concrete factual number, but we'll tell you this much in terms of empirical evidence, is that when you speak to people, most of the time they'll say to you, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. I don't know why, for example, I keep meeting the same men and, you know, I can't find the right relationship. Or I don't know why, for some reason, I always attract the women that require a certain kind of, you know, they're the ones that are always broken. Or I don't know why I keep getting fired from my job. Or I don't, you know, people really are in a state of, they're just disillusioned by it. They don't understand why. And so ultimately, because what we're doing is subconscious, it's below our awareness. And Joanna will tell you that the conscious mind, you know, the subconscious mind is 1 million times faster in its response than the conscious mind. Our conscious mind is our rational, strategic goal setter, but our subconscious mind is our goal getter. And if our subconscious mind is incorrectly programmed, then our goal getter is broken. And so we can't actually get the goals that we want. And what's fascinating is if our subconscious mind is programmed to protect us from, you know, love or success because we feel that there's too much responsibility around it, the minute that we get close to what we want from our goal setter, our goal getter goes into like a default mechanism of no, this isn't good for you, and we don't even realize it's happening. All we see is that same pattern coming forward.
Yeah, it's so true. And then that spiral begins, all of the sabotage. And it happens in so many different ways. And we realize that it really does start from our childhood, how, you know, from very young, from in the womb, right from the womb and it could be any point in our life. If we have a trauma in our life, anything can happen that all of a sudden establishes and creates a core belief or some fear or trust issue or feeling just alone, feeling depressed, all of these sort of things, and they become wired in. And when we understand how the brain works, you know, originally in a trauma or in a moment that we have some bad experience that would happen, in that moment we might truly say, this is the truth, like this is scary, this is awful, I am alone, I am hurt. But the problem is it's where the subconscious mind takes it like it's the truth, forever. And it becomes locked in there forever. That's the problem. So then we go on with our life and we want to have better situations happen, but then we get triggered again with this feeling. It's like, oh no, I'm alone, or I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm in this situation. So it's constantly being triggered, and that's the thing where, as Tanya said, it's so insidious. It's underneath our awareness. It's undermined, and it's getting us when we don't even realize it's getting us. And that's why we ask people to really look at this, because this is so important for you to see, where are you sabotaging yourself? We see people all the time complaining about the results in their life. Well, now is an opportunity to look at the results, and if you see these results are not what you want in your life, then you know there's something undermined. There's something there in the subconscious mind that's running you and ruining some parts of your life. And we want people to look at that and be able to see that is the stuff that then we could, the good stuff, even though it's awful, it's really not nice stuff, but it's the stuff that we can heal if we really understand that.
Yeah. I really love the play on words where you can undermine the undermined, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure that crossed your mind when you named this book.
Yeah, that's how it came up. But I mean, that's why in the first chapter, like in the first concrete chapter, you know, your results determine what's undermined. They actually go through an entire test to score themselves on the different areas of their life, you know. And then there's further tests to actually score yourself to understand what are the sabotaging beliefs. And then we show you the different parts of you that could be undermining you, and then you identify with that and you think, I mean, truly by the end of it, you have no choice but to say, I know exactly what my sabotage blueprint is, and I know exactly why I have exactly what I have, and now I know what to do with it. And it's just, I mean, a tremendous relief for people who read this, because they've been wondering all this time that maybe life is unfair and they're not the chosen one. But the reality is your thinking fully determines the results in your life. But you can't just change your thoughts with affirmations sometimes. It really is looking at the blueprint of what your belief systems are, because that perception truly defines everything.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we can have the lives we want.
Absolutely.
We can create this.
Absolutely.
It's not a series of bad breaks and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
We can turn this around.
100%.
Absolutely.
Really.
And especially because it's, if we perpetrate that same conversation and keep talking with that same negative belief, we know this is, and science is proving this as well, that, you know, what we focus on and what we believe and our thoughts become like this energy field that literally attracts those experiences into our reality. What matches our frequency, what matches our thoughts comes right into us. What we believe, like it's when we see, say we're looking for a red sports car, don't we see red sports car everywhere on the road, or the exact car that we're looking for? Well, it's the same if we say, everybody rips me off all the time, or life is unfair, or nobody likes me. That's all we see. It becomes our filter of perception, how we see the world. Nobody likes me. Somebody might be having a bad day, but we look at that experience as, oh no, that was personal. They don't like me. It keeps reinforcing this belief, and it's going into your mind and reinforcing a pattern more and more in the neurons of your mind, which then makes it continually be your reality. So we say something different. At least first, start saying something different. Even though it feels like it's not the truth, you have to start doing that.
Let's go to the phone lines now. Let's go to line 1, and Lori's calling in from Toronto. Hi there, Lori. You're first up on our show tonight. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question, and towards the conversation you're having, it's like every time I think there is a fear in me. It's something that I show people, where people seeing me, but I don't know how to overcome it. And every time I'm going to get something, like say a promotion or something, I think I sabotage myself by, you know, thinking that I don't deserve it.
That's great. You take it.
That's exactly it, Lori.
Go ahead.
That's exactly it. So you're already nailing it right on the head. You can hear it. I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
That is such a huge, one of the core beliefs that we talk about in the book that is so important, and you're not alone. So many of us have that inner chatter and that belief, but it can run things for you. So if you're seeing this already happen, that the moment that it's going to be a promotion and it's I don't deserve it, then what happens in your life? How do you feel after you say that thought?
Well, I just keep going. Like, you know, everything seems like normal, and, you know, it never goes, it's just like, it's all even but low is not what I'm working towards to. and I feel very, I think it's a fear in me, something that, I don't know, people can see through or something.
Right. So, and we have a lot of people say that maybe they'll find out that really I'm a fake. Maybe they'll actually find out that I'm not good enough. You know, so those are the things we want to look at. Now, it's not the truth. And Lori, that's the point. It's not the truth. And this is where we ask you to look at yourself as an adult with probably all your skills. If somebody in your office wants to give you a promotion, obviously that means you are good enough. You have the capabilities to do those sort of things. But it's that inner chatter, that voice that's telling you a false story. It's a lie. And it's the first step for you to recognize that. You need to not be listening to that or identifying that is something young. That's something from my past. That is not true anymore. I do deserve this, and start changing that conversation.
Yeah. So can I just jump in? So Lori, thank you so much for your call. And as Joanna was saying, that it is one of our 7 subconscious beliefs that undermine our life. I'm not worthy. So somewhere in your sabotage blueprint, when you were very young, you decided, whether you had brothers and sisters or something, I mean, a million different things could have happened, and one small thing could have happened, and you said to yourself at some point, I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. And that one incident has now defined the rest of your life. So there's always 2 things that we recommend people do. You know, there's something that's quick and simple that you can apply now to just get into the next frequency of your life so that you can stop plateauing and get to the next level, which is, first and foremost, when you start hearing that negative conversation, write down what you're actually hearing inside your mind so that you get very in touch with that negative part of you that sabotages you. Number 2, we want you to also make a list of all the different successes you've had in your life to remind yourself in that moment why it is that you deserve this promotion, the things that you love about yourself, the things that are good about you. Of course, we recommend that you read the book so that you understand how the healing process works. But if you can really get in touch with understanding that there's parts of you that have succeeded in your life, and really remind yourself of what they are before you go into your negotiation meeting, that's the energy that you're going to bring in with you into that meeting, so that you're really fully aware of what you've done right, so that that voice that constantly tells you why you're not good enough is not overriding it.
Lori, does that help for you tonight?
Yes, it did. Well, thank you very much. Yes, as the conversation goes on, then I'm saying the same things. And I believe what you're saying is I'm telling it to myself. And it's true. So many things happened in my childhood, but yeah.
You know what, Lori?
I
can already hear the energy in her voice. It's changed.
Yes.
Yeah. You sound a lot happier, Lori. I'm so glad that you were able to call in and share tonight. Thank you so much. We are going to keep our toll-free lines open throughout the rest of the show. So, folks, go ahead. Joanna and Tanya are here to take your phone calls. And I should be able to tell you as well where you can get this wonderful book. You can go onto their website. I'm going to bring that up for you on screen. It's, of course, the www. It's .pnrt.ca. So if you go on there, you can get a copy of this book. It stands for, and we've got that up there right now there too, Progressive Natural Resolution Therapy, which we're going to get into with Joanna and Tanya as well.
Progressive neural.
Thank you very much.
Brain.
What did I call it?
Natural.
No, but that's good though, because it is a natural process. But it's really like, you know, in Lori's case, because of course this is a show, we want to help her so much. But the reality is that for years and years, like the way that the brain works, for years and years, you keep saying to yourself, I'm really not worthy. And so as the minute that something good comes up, I'm not worthy. And so those neurons keep firing like that, and that pathway is really clear, and it's absolutely loud and true. But in order to really get the profound breakthrough, I mean, you could do it consciously, but through PNRT, what it does is it goes back and heals the traumatic incident, and it helps you rewire it so you don't think that anymore the next time that you get offered a promotion. Believe it or not, Theresa, you don't think that anymore. That's not your automatic default. You think something positive instead, and it's effortless, so it is natural, because we don't want people to really struggle through, no, I am good enough, you know, that's an exhausting process for people. And so if you really want your life to become more effortlessly, absolutely in the flow, you need to rewire those negative programs.
Joanna, this is something that you studied for years. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about progressive neural resolution therapy. And we're also going to take more of your phone calls. So a quick break. Joanna and Tanya and myself will be right back right after this. Hello everyone, my guests tonight, Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova. They are the best-selling authors of a book called UnderMind. And before the break, we were telling you about where you could get it. Here is the book. If you would like to get a copy of this book, you can go onto their website, which is pnrt.ca. And I think you also get a little extra, don't you, Tanya?
Absolutely.
If you go on and order the book, why don't you tell them about that?
So, when you buy the book, we actually give you a free downloadable workshop, which is from our Investing in You series called Relationship with Yourself. And it's a live workshop that we had last year, which was incredible. And so it's a great companion to the book because you get a chance to go through live our workshop and really understand what is your relationship with yourself, your self-worth. Because, Theresa, your self-worth equals your net worth. So if you want more of anything in your life, you must increase your self-worth before you can have anything else expand.
You know, I'm sitting here making notes right now. You know that. Yeah. This has been good for me too. Let's go back to our phones. Line 1, Mary's calling in from Hamilton. Hi there, Mary. You're live on the show.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
Go ahead.
To start with, I recently separated from my husband a year ago, and I'm still having problems. He was very mentally and verbally abusive with me, and I'm trying to let go of that past and move forward. But I just hold so much anger and resentment toward him, and I want to move forward, but I just can't get the motivation going. Like I want to change things as I'm doing them, and I mean, I'm starting over my life. I'm 60 years old. I just, it's a whole lot of things to go through at my age even.
Yeah. Ladies?
Absolutely. Mary, so we're so sorry to hear that you're going through this hard time, first of all, and just to, my first thought is just to make sure that you know that there could be some other things going on here that just, you sound quite down. I mean, I know it's late at night and all that when we're talking, but that, you know, you could end up slipping into depression. So please make sure you check with your doctor, because that is a lot of change that's happened in your life. If there was an emotional abuse, you were talking about it as well, that could make a huge impact on you, where you could even have post-traumatic stress syndrome. And, you know, it's important for you to be able to talk to your doctor and make sure that there isn't something else that's going to make it worse. But to recognize that this is a lot of trauma that you've been through. There is some major changes, as you say. And if there has been emotional abuse, that there's probably some decisions that you've made along the way, the time that you were with your husband, let alone even the separation of your worth, and if you were lovable, if you were good enough, feeling alone, feeling like you can't trust, because there's that relationship where you feel like you can trust, you're supposed to trust a husband, and then if you felt you couldn't because all of a sudden the rug's always being pulled out, or you're being abused or being put down. So these are really important issues for you to be able to understand, and to, as Tanya had said earlier on a call, to be able to even write down, I know it sounds awful, but to write down some of the nasty stuff that's going on in your mind, to recognize, like, what are some of these beliefs that you've inherited along the way with all of these traumas, and to realize that those are the ones that you're going to need to start looking at and healing, because it's really important. But we want you to know it is possible, and your life can get better, but it is looking at the pain, so that you can move on.
And you know, Mary, such a courageous woman that you are, for giving yourself the freedom, even at 60, to start over is tremendous. So you really need to acknowledge yourself for this bold and amazing step that you've taken forward. And to let you know, I mean, you are in Hamilton, so in Toronto we do have the Mentor Circle, which offers phenomenal support for women once a month. So you can certainly find out more about that after the show. And even on our website and in the book, there's a chapter called the 12, letting go and starting over. And there's a worksheet that's actually free on our website, pnrt.ca/UnderMind. And on there's a worksheet that actually says 12 steps to letting go and starting over. And so really the emotional freedom is what now you need to do. And that's kind of like a regular practice. So whether you go online and you get that free sheet of paper, or if you actually even start writing yourself letters, when you're feeling specifically overcome with these thoughts and feelings, one of the things that you need to reestablish is your relationship with yourself. That's the first relationship that you need to reestablish, because a lot of times when women come out of these situations, they're so angry with themselves for having tolerated it for so long. And you're practically hypnotized in that situation when you're in it, because there's so many decisions to make. So really, when you're caught up in it, if you're looking for any kind of reprieve, we recommend really that you just take a fresh sheet of paper and handwrite a letter to yourself in that moment and say to yourself the things that you know you need to hear. Reestablish the relationship with yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, Mary, thank you so much. As Tanya said, it takes great courage to pick up the phone, and we hope that what you've heard tonight can be a little catalyst, a spark to get you on the road to really feeling good again. It's what do you do when your energy is so low and you just don't think you can start over again? How do you get yourself going?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that first, because we always do the deeper work, and then there's the immediate tactics that you can do. And seriously, the best way to get yourself right back into a place of somewhat movement forward is music. So you have to find like your most favorite, most inspirational piece of music, because music works on our energy beyond the mind. It works mind, heart, body, soul, cells, energy, everything. Put it on and make it louder than your thoughts. Blast that music and allow your body to physically get up and move with the music. That's one of the best ways to do it, especially also getting out of your house. Oftentimes our negative thoughts are when we're in bed or in that comfortable chair, or in a place where we're like clouded over. Change your environment, change the music, get up and start feeling better. And then in that feeling better place, start creating a new vision for your life. One of the hardest parts about moving forward is creating a vision for what the future looks like.
And I found that also to just be in the now, like if you are in the now, in the moment, realizing in this moment, are you okay? Usually we're okay. The moment you go into the past, we don't feel okay. The moment we're in the future, we don't feel okay. But if you can keep reminding yourself to be in the now, I'm okay, I'm okay. That's another good step.
That's right.
That's great advice, great insight. Let's go to line 2 now. Kaylee's calling in from Toronto. Hi there, Kaylee, you're live on the show.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead, have you got a question or a comment for Joanna or Tanya tonight?
Kind of both.
Sure.
It's actually really ironic. I just found myself on the channel, and
glad you found us.
What the lady was talking about was kind of exactly what I was sitting there thinking. So I'm really glad that I came across this right now.
Perfect.
My question would be, I've just been through a lot of change recently, a lot, and I was wondering, I guess what I'm finding myself doing is that I'm staying in my house. I'm not wanting to talk to people about what's going on anymore, and I'm just like secluding to myself, because I feel like I go over and over and over, maybe like what if would be a good way to put it. I go over what if scenarios, and it's making me to the point where I feel like I can't explain to people what I'm going through, so there's no point in trying to talk to people, so I just say I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then to avoid being asked period if I'm okay, I just have stopped leaving my apartment.
Yeah, don't ask me if you don't really want to know, right? Yeah. So she's been through so much change, and overwhelmed. So some suggestions for Kaylee?
Yeah, I mean, there's Kaylee. Do you have a good support system? Like a bunch of girlfriends, good girlfriends who can really help you? That's my one question I want to ask.
I do and I don't. I feel like if I want to not talk about it, I have a good group of friends who would say, take me out to do stuff, but I'm not there yet. And I have a good family, but part of the change was I just lost my mom. So we're kind of all going through it. So I don't really feel a support system in the sense that we're all kind of supporting each other.
Right, got it. So, you know, just to understand that this is going to just be a rough time, there is no doubt. There's a part of grieving, and there's sometimes we need to even read a book on it to understand what the stages are of grieving, because there are 5 specific states that we will go through, which is like the shock and denial that it's even happening, and then the sadness, and then we can go through major anger, and then we can go through fear. So, and I hear a lot of the fear. It's like not even wanting to move outside of your comfort zone, which then becomes your house, and then you're isolating yourself, and then deep sorrow. So there is these stages, and so to just not be so hard on yourself, and knowing that this is going to take a while for you to heal. And they say, you know, unfortunately, I hate to tell you, because I know I've gone through different sorrows in my life and think, can't I speed this up if I do more therapy or read more books? And yet it just has a natural progression time, and it does take months and months, and sometimes even a couple of years. But you do need good people in your life, good supportive friends, and you need somebody who's not going through the same, so that they can also help you, even though the people that are going through the same you can commiserate with, and you could, you know, have a lot of support that way, but to have some good people who can help you.
Tanya, a quick thought for Kaylee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. You know what? Just try as much as you can to connect with all of the wonderful memories and the love that you have from your mother. You know, just really connect with that as much as you can.
And to have the hope that down the road things are going to look brighter, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And even the fact that the fears, are these fears realistic? So when you're having that conversation about the fear, what is that? The what ifs, what ifs? Like, write them down on the piece of paper so you can say, is this rational? Is this make sense? Is this a logical, rational thought that I'm having these fears? Or are they irrational? Are they coming from some deeper source? And that's another thing where we can realize, like, as an adult, I don't know how old you are, but is this a realistic fear? We need to get ourselves out of that irrational thinking.
Mm-hmm. Kaylee, I hope that helps tonight. We're going to move on now to line 1, and John's calling in from Toronto. Hello there, John. Good to hear from you tonight. Have you got a question or a comment?
Yeah, I guess both. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are you hearing me well? Because I am on a cell phone.
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Perfect, great. Anyways, I guess to sort of just approach it, I wanted to ask your guest there, Theresa, if along the lines of what they're talking about, if this has any, shall we say, overruns or similarities to some of the other issues or sort of concepts of NLP out there and EFT, and actually targeting the brain with some of those
yes,
of reaching into the inner levels of the brain.
You got it, John. That's exactly it. It's in the subconscious. And I know it's the whole new movement that's happening now in the world of realizing this is where we want to create the change. It's in the subconscious mind, not just the conscious. So we have all this awareness, all these books, all this stuff that's conscious, but you want to be able to go into the subconscious and where all that wiring is and make permanent change. And that's what we're talking about. It's the permanent change there. At that level.
Can you expand on those terms that John brought up, please, and tell us what they are for us that don't know?
Okay, so like NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, which is that's a little bit more conscious work, where it's just by a new way of thinking. Mm-hmm. It can reframe things and get you out of an old pattern
with a new perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the EFT is more the tapping, where they have the tapping of your different parts of your body.
Yeah, we had a guest on that talked to us about those techniques. And I know that definitely does some work where it seems to take people right out of the trauma and do that. Yeah. Same with EMDR is another one, the rapid eye movement, where there's those that seem to work on that subconscious level. What we find with this therapy, though, it really does go back to the actual trauma, the actual event, not in a place that it's like you're going back in and it's over traumatizing and it's a long time you're in this and then you all of a sudden kicked out the door and you're in the middle of the trauma and it's not healed. It's literally a process that goes from beginning to end.
and you can heal it. Like, you come in and you could be totally in a place of trauma and phobia or fear or upset about something and saying like 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10 that you're feeling stressed, and then you could walk out and it's like a 2. And it completely has changed at that subconscious level.
Yeah, and the biggest difference too is that, NLP is something that you actually practice. So, I mean, you're practicing reframing, you get skills and tools to reframe, so when you leave and you get triggered, you're reframing. EFT, the emotional freedom technique with the tapping, again, you're faced with a trigger and you're like, okay, you're tapping the different areas in order to actually release the trigger. With progressive neural resolution therapy, the therapist works with you to actually reprogram on a neuronal level this trigger so that you don't have to do anything, so that when you leave the office and you go back into your regular life, you just don't get triggered at all anymore in that particular layer. I mean, there's many layers of healing, obviously, but it's an effortless process where you don't have homework to do. There's no more. So it's a very new progressive type of therapy where it just gets it at its root and then it heals it until you get to the next layer. Yeah.
So one more tool for you, John, to use, so we can add progressive neural resolution therapy as well. And you can go on to their website at www.pnrt.ca, and there you can get Joanna and Tanya's book. You can find out what it is about their therapy. You can contact them through there. So lots of resources available for you on that website. We're going to take another break here on Living Clean, Living Well, but when we come back, more of your calls and more chatting with Joanna and Tanya. Welcome back. You're watching Living Clean, Living Well tonight, and an interesting topic about self-sabotage, of whether or not that's happening to you in your life. As you know, here we are, Canada's only live interactive television talk show that deals with addictions and substance abuse, but sometimes many of the things that we talk about goes across the wide spectrum of our lives. So this that we are talking about tonight, about UnderMind with their book and the self-sabotage, it all works into, whether or not perhaps people are sabotaging their recovery or perhaps sabotaging other areas of their life. So tonight, Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova are my guests tonight. I'd like to talk a little bit about PNRT. Joanna, you've been studying this for quite some time. Could you tell us a little bit about it? Because before the break, John was talking about some other different techniques. Tell us a little bit about PNRT, please.
Well, PNRT was I worked on so many different people. I was, first of all, doing coaching with people, and I realized that no matter what, week after week after week, the people would still come back and they still hadn't done the thing that they wanted to do or they committed to doing. And it seemed like there was always this part of them that was sabotaging them. And underneath, you could all of a sudden hear, I was trained to hear beliefs. What were their beliefs about themselves that were coming through? And I knew that if a person wanted to create something successful in their business or in their life or in their marriage or in any area of their life financially, or when it became to an addiction or something better with their body, losing weight, if they had a belief system underneath was, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not loved, any of those or a myriad of other ones, it seemed to always sabotage it. So I knew that those were the areas that we really needed to work on. How could we change that? There were different therapies that have been out there working in the subconscious level, and I knew that this is the way to tap into this. So trial and error and actually creating this process, it really was going into, I think Tanya mentioned a little bit before, to that inner child that has actually been the moment that you made that decision as a child, whether you were in school and the teacher told you were, the answer was wrong. We make a decision as a human being, I must be stupid, I must not be smart enough. Just a simple thing like that, or somebody looks at you, unfortunately, the wrong way sometimes as a child, and all of a sudden we make a decision about ourselves, and then it becomes our truth. So by going back to that root time, figuring out exactly when it happened, but more importantly, what decision did that child make? What did you make in that moment there when you were 6, or you were 8, or you were even 3 years old, when you saw mom and dad fighting all the time, and you thought, this is what relationships are, this is what marriage is, it's awful, and unfortunately, then when that's in there with that fertile soil in that brain, when you're a child and that's all you have, that becomes this fear underneath, or this belief system now that's feeding all of our experiences, and it gets triggered all the time as an adult. So if we go to that area and then literally we use the conscious mind, the adult will then, it sounds really strange, but talk to that inner child. Talk to that part of the brain, and you can see yourself in your mind, and you can remember that thing that happened to you when you were 5. You can remember being in the school. You can remember the embarrassment or the trauma in that moment. And then by the adult coming in and actually rescuing the child and changing that belief with that child and reasoning on that, it's amazing how the child within us will actually change its belief with a bit of prodding. And we can actually embed new core beliefs in the brain.
So this is where we can actually rewire our brains.
Yes.
To think more positively, to get us out of those ruts, and to help us to stop self-sabotaging, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's like giving that child a new job in your brain, instead of protecting you all the time from people and keeping you isolated or keeping you alone, thinking that the world is out to get you, or trying to numb out with even addictions and the problems that we have with addictions because it's so painful. Instead of that mechanism that's now been wired in there, we put in a new embedded command, a new job, really, that's in our mind. And that's why all of a sudden then we go through life and it's like it's not there anymore. It's like we're literally taking it out of the way. That's what's different and powerful.
Yeah. You don't even hear the inner chatter anymore. It's over.
You don't.
No, you don't. And what the conundrum is, like Joanna was saying, is that on the one hand you want something, but the subconscious mind, which is the goal getter, is actually when it's programmed against you, the subconscious mind will actually undermine you and sabotage you from the very thing you really want. You know, you really want the financial success, but then because there's some part of you that feels that you're not worthy or not good enough, or it's not safe to have this kind of money, the minute that you get closest to it, that's when it undermines you. So you know you're being sabotaged, for example, when, you know, the minute that you start moving towards your goal, you get exhausted, or all of a sudden full of distractions, or, you know, you're so excited, and then the minute that you start taking action steps towards it, everything falls apart. I mean, sometimes you even watch yourself. You say, I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm only going to eat like this. And then all you want is the other stuff. So it's really important for people to understand that's a human mechanism. Yeah. So,
and then of course this is where alcohol and drugs and all of those things are all the same. Any of those things could be just substituted in, and it becomes something that just takes us right out.
Well, we've talked about food addiction on this show.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a big source, a big problem for a lot of people. So can your techniques also help in the area of controlling one's weight or possibly getting over a food addiction?
Absolutely. And a big thing with weight is because there's so many beliefs that are tied in with that. Like as a child, where all of a sudden you may decide that, you know, just deciding as a child that you are fat. Somebody's called you fat. They've made fun of you and they've called you fat. Can you imagine with our mind being so fertile, ready with new thoughts of like, who am I in the world? I'm fat. It's like becomes who I am. And then all of a sudden our body then just fulfills on the belief, I'm fat, so I have to keep eating. Or if we've had a trauma and it comforted us, then it's another belief system where that's like, oh, food is safe, food is comforting, it makes me feel loved, and then food becomes the motivation.
And I mean also, of course, if there's been some form of sexual abuse, oftentimes women in particular will use a way of getting fat in order to feel less attractive and prevent this same occurrence.
Or protect themselves.
Back to our phone lines. Line 1, calling in from Brampton tonight, is Robert. Hi there, Robert. Have you got a question for my guest this evening?
Yes. I understand everything that you're saying, but I don't feel like I can connect on a subconscious level, because I feel that my belief, my negative belief, is so strong that I can't change it, and I feel absolutely stuck, and I feel helpless, and it feels hopeless, and I just feel powerless. And I have this recurring dream that I'm stuck on a roller coaster and I'm waiting for someone to rescue me, and it just goes on and on and on. I just can't seem to make the breakthrough.
Robert, totally understand, and I can tell you I felt the exact same way, and I want you to know that I did a million courses, read a million books, like did so many different things, and I thought, this is crazy. I am still stuck with this crazy voice in my head that was still saying, you're not lovable, you're not good looking, you're ugly, you know. And I thought, okay, rationally this is not true. I know that you know, I have lots of people who love me, and yet I still would have this voice and felt triggered by it, and a million other conversations I won't go into today. But I want you to know that's why we're so passionate about this subject, because we knew that just the conscious awareness will not do it, and the conscious mind. We can say something different, which is a good start, you know, to have affirmations or say something positive. But to get into the subconscious mind does take a different process. And that's why I know, like reading the book, first of all, I'm like not here just like totally to just plug the book, but I want you to know it will give you an insight of what's really happening there for you, and to really, really identify them and make it very clear, you know, who's the rational adult and then who's all this inner chatter inside. And let you know that this can be done, but you do need a facilitator. I cannot do it myself. I can be honest about that. I can't do it on myself. I actually have somebody who does it on me as well, and it does change it at that subconscious level, so you're not tortured by that.
Tanya, I've got about a minute if you'd like to talk to Robert.
Well, Robert, we'd like to know, you know, what is that negative belief that you feel that you can't overcome? Do you know what it is?
What I'm struggling to identify, I think it has something to do with my childhood and my father.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in there. It's in there, and you don't even know what it is. That's what's also good about this PNRT. When we're working with people, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind answers immediately. When we start asking it, we know how to tap into that. It will give all the answers. That's because right. You know that feeling that's coming up within you, something that's stopping you. It'll be there. It's very quick. The book does explain it. Obviously, we can't go into too many details here on the show, but I promise you it explains it a lot more there. You can always give us a call. Personally, I can talk to you as well.
So, Robert, the best place to go is to their website. So, as we've mentioned earlier this evening, it is on the screen for you right now. It is www.pnrt.ca. And on there, you can contact them. There's their contact information. They offer a number of services. You can get the book. You can get that free workshop as well. So, we're going to take our final break here on Living Clean, Living Well. But when we come back, we're going to wrap up our show and a few final thoughts from Joanna Andros and Tanya Chernova. Living Clean, Living Well. We'll be back right after this. We have been talking to best-selling authors Chernova and Joanna Andros tonight about UnderMind and their book. I hope that you have had a breakthrough tonight. I know I have had a breakthrough just listening to everyone that has called in. Thank you, and also to what they have had to say. Some final thoughts, Tanya?
Absolutely. You know, we just want to thank everyone for calling in, and all the people listening out there. Is that, you know, if you're feeling really in your breakdown, just so you know, when you're in your deepest breakdown, that's really, you're on the precipice of a breakthrough. Just know that when you're really at your hardest point, you're really breaking through to what's best, what's coming forward into your life. So just hang in there, believe in yourself, reach out for the support that you know is available to you, and move into the next level of your life, because it's waiting for you.
Joanna?
And I would say, align with what Tanya is saying as well, it's just knowing that there is hope as well. A lot of people do talk about that. Is there really hope? And there is hope. And it is on the subconscious level. You can end that inner chatter. It will make a big difference in your life.
Well, ladies, you've given us a lot of hope and a lot of insight. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
Theresa.
Thank you. I'll be back again next week with the good folks from Renaissance. We'll see you then.
Living Clean, Living Well has been brought to you by Turning Point Detox and by Renaissance. Living Clean, Living Well has been a presentation of the Canadian Centre for Abuse Awareness.